All right, so there's a Florida pastor who's claiming that ChatGPT gave him bad medical advice that nearly killed him, so he's suing OpenAI. Before I get into more, quick caveat, I haven't seen any transcripts. That's all secondhand reporting. But we all trust people from Florida, right? At least the pastors. They're trustworthy pillars of the community. So anyways, according to the complaint, this chatbot told him that God did not design your body to endlessly fail. Meanwhile, he was having dizzy spells and spent a lot of more time sitting in his recliner and eventually developed blood clots in his lungs, which is a problem because sitting in a chair for an extended period of time is one way that you get blood clots. All right, so let's look into it. So first off, that whole God did not design your body to fail. It's like, being a sycophant. I think sycophancy is what they call it. Many versions of ChatGPT and other AI chatbots are always trying to please you, the user. And do you know why? I don't know why I just did a Dora the Explorer pause there, but whatever you guessed, or if you just didn't say anything, the answer is because of the training method. So these are all trained by something called reinforcement learning with human feedback, RLHF. So it gives answers, and real humans kind of give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So this type of training, you can imagine, creates a selection bias for flattery. So when humans get answers that make them feel good, they give more thumbs up. So over time, these answers that made the humans feel good were prioritized over maybe more accurate answers, because that's the way that the testing works. So anyways, it's almost as if like they started to butter up the person judging its work, kind of like a teacher's pet thing rather than a smarty pants. Of course, the AI wasn't thinking or anything. It just happens to be the way that the testing works. So if I'm guessing, which is all I'm doing here, I don't know the details of all of the conversations he had, but I'm guessing that he had a lot of spiritual conversations on his account already. So ChatGPT, when it's interacting with him, would try to cater to his faith. So when it said stuff about God designing his body well, it was telling him kind of what someone like him, a pastor, would kind of give a thumbs up to the response. So when it said stuff like, keep your faith in God and relax, he went and sat in his recliner, which is a problem, like I said, because sitting in your chair for a long time can get you blood clots. So real quick, before I get into the negative blood clotting stuff, your blood is supposed to clot, right? But at the correct time. So if you get a cut or something, you want your blood to clot, because clotting is how you stop bleeding, right? So that's a good thing. That's how the system is supposed to work. But when the system fires at the wrong time, and the wrong place actually too, wrong time, wrong place, so inside of a vein, like inside of your body with no injury or cut or whatever, one reason is because the blood's been sitting still too long. But when that happens, that's what we're talking about here. So it's kind of like pathology, which is like bad stuff happening, versus just physiology, which is the normal way it's supposed to work. Anyway, so we have a thing that we call Virchow's Triad that makes these clots more likely. So doctors have come up with this thing. So the first one is kind of your blood is extra sticky. The second one is that your blood vessel wall is damaged. So if the wall is damaged, it's kind of like, creates like a little bit of extra space there. So otherwise the blood just stops moving. So that one's called stasis. So that third one is likely the culprit here. So blood that sits still too long starts forming clots. That's why long flights, long car rides, and even long, stretches in a hospital bed can be dangerous. There's even a modern name for this exact condition. There's something called eThrombosis. Thrombosis is just a blood clot, thrombus. So eThrombosis is blood clots caused by sitting too long in front of a screen or in a chair, like I'm doing right now. But the lawsuit claimed that the doctors who treated him later said that his earlier dizzy spells, so when he was talking to ChatGPT, he was like, I've been getting dizzy standing in front of the people and talking and doing this stuff. I'm getting dizzy spells. So doctors said that those dizzy spells later were probably smaller clots that came first. You could call them like warning shots before the big one hit later. So I think that's kind of like the medicine part of it. So is it like a nightmare story of one guy, or are systems other AI systems behaving this way when regular people are asking the medical questions. So there's a few other cases I'm not going to go deeply into. Like there was one kid that asked about drugs and overdosed. There was another like suicide one where it talked about suicide and before committing suicide. Things like that are coming up. I've tested, like asking it to edit like a copyrighted picture, and sometimes it won't do it. But I'm like, hey, like I already have the picture. I just want you to edit something, edit the text or whatever. And sometimes it'll do it. Other times it won't. I think it just depends on the model and how good your prompt is. You could basically, you kind of call it jailbreaking. You could basically convince the models to do a lot of interesting things. I'll put the Chipotle thing up right here. But anyway, so the guy from OpenAI, not Sam Altman, the guy in this article I read, his name is Drew Pusateri. He's a spokesman for OpenAI. So he basically said like older models were more like this, but these newer ones are better. Of course, nothing's perfect, so there'll be new issues that arise. But I think he's specifically talking about how sycophantic it is and just desperate for approval and, saying all these religious things to a religious guy just to, hopefully make sure this guy feels good rather than give correct responses of go see your doctor or whatever. And there's more and more medical AI stuff out there. I think the overarching guidance for me is like, don't turn your brain off. These chatbots aren't a replacement for thinking or logic. Stupidity is rampant in humans, and we molded these large language models in our own image. So hallucination, sycophancy, all that other stuff, just kind of be on the lookout, be a little suspicious or paranoid even to a healthy degree, like Andy Grove or something. But, I think I read more on the lawsuit, but I found the details mostly boring, but I'll give my take on a few of the highlights. So one is that it's not malpractice because it was never a doctor. It's just product liability, like the same thing you'd say about like a car that catches fire, like the Chevy Nova or something. You'd say like this product, has some liability. It can cause, things. So what is he asking for? He's asking for money, obviously, but also for a court order. He wants to shut down ChatGPT Health until it's safe. There's like he wants an independent panel to say it's safe and do some more testing and things. So not a terrible idea to make sure these things are safe. But it's also worth pointing out his issue occurred in July of last summer, so July 2025. And back then he used ChatGPT-4o, and ChatGPT Health didn't come out till 2026. So they're different products. So it's like he used the precursor to ChatGPT Health, and he's like, hey, this one had problems. I think you should also shut down your new one, which probably has other problems. But they are different products, so that is one thing to point out. And OpenAI also responded. I'll read the quote here. Treating chatbots as the whole story behind people's medical decisions or outcomes oversimplifies a much bigger challenge and risks getting in the way of people accessing powerful new tools that can aid them in their health journey. Which is basically what I was saying this whole time, right? Like these tools can be useful. Just don't be blindly obedient to them. Keep using your own brain and your own logic. I found a lot of people kind of forgot how to do basic things at work because they are just using AI tools to do it. And I think for some stuff it's fine. But yeah, like you got to keep using your own brain. Human intelligence still counts for something in some people anyways. But I think if there's anything else on this, I'll do an update if any more stories like this come out or whatever happens to this Florida pastor guy. Just wanted to share this. I hope this was useful.